Alright, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to a special video. So a lot of you guys have been requesting this, my Cyclone build video. So before we start, I just want to say there are probably guides out there for this build that are made by significantly better people. However, this is what worked for me, and I've beaten literally every single boss in the game with it. So it worked for me, and if you want to try and copy it, that's cool too. So keep in mind, I don't really make build videos so often, so this might be a little wonky and lackluster, but I'll do my best to try to explain everything from the beginning. That includes gear, gems, and like what to do early on. But yeah, so early on, if you're playing Cyclone, literally just playing the game, it will carry you through all the way to mapping, so gear itself isn't as important up until mapping. Yeah, other things to look out for are like, I'll cover Pantheons and everything else, auras, whatever. So yeah, where do I start with this? Yeah, let's start with gear and everything else. So assuming you want to play Cyclone, there are a few different ways to do it. One is you could go sword or axes. Now, axes usually have the option to go 7 link, and that means when you look at your weapon, there's an extra modifier to have something else on it, like, I don't know, the implicit will be different, or just an extra mod that'll have like fortify or something, so you don't have to use that gem. So that's what I mean. But I used the Starforge. I just thought it was cool. That's kind of how I built my thing, like, all around. So yeah, let's start off with the whole skill tree. So Slayer, just keep in mind, if you are wanting to start this build while the Legion League is going on, currently Cyclone is the meta flavor of the month build. So that means if you are trying to play it during Legion, things might be a little bit more expensive. But if you're watching this and trying it out like way after Legion League ends, probably things are a little bit cheaper, and who knows. So just keep that in mind. So we're playing a Slayer. In terms of like priorities of what to do, it doesn't really matter. How I went was Endless Hunger, Brutal Fervor, Headsman, and then Bane of Legends. So normal, cruel, merciless, Uber. And then you start your tree over here. So the way I built was I just went down here, took all these early on as I was leveling up from like 1 through 10. Then went down here, and then sort of like branched off sideways from both over here and here. You get Vol Packed around the time you get Cyclone, or a few levels after. And generally, your build is going to be cycloning through things while life leeching, so that's kind of how you get all your health back and just like roll through everything. So that's how your life sustain is going to be, life leech. So you're going to make sure to pick up these as well as this one, and so that's pretty important to have, starting off with life leech or the Vol Pact. After that, you go down here, and you should be in your mid 30s, 40s by at this point. Then you go down here. Don't worry about going up into this tree. This is like later on and around 80s and 90s. So around here, you should be around 30s, 40s, and have all, let's just say from this line, you should have all of these already maxed out from this side on. And then going on from 40s to 50s or something, then you just move on, just go up, get all these. So this area right here is swords. So if you're using a Starforge like I am, you pick this one. If you're using axes, you would choose this like circle instead of the swords. And then just on the side, whenever you get the chance, just pick up these, and then you go up here, you get the Resolute Technique. Now this one, if you are super rich in game and just have a lot of extra exalts, you could get the implicit or corrupted version of a weapon, and it could have Resolute Technique on it, so that could save you an extra 2 points if you are super baller. But if not, just pick this one up. I would say to get the Resolute Technique on a Starforge is probably like 15 exalts, but don't worry about that. It's not really that important. It's just min-maxing. So after you get Resolute Technique, you move down up until here and just pick all these up. Now, assuming your gear is a little bit better than mine, I guess, you don't particularly need the versatility passives. You're really just getting it for the intelligence. Attack speed is nice. Global accuracy is irrelevant because you have Resolute Technique. Reduced mana cost, it doesn't matter. We'll go over that in a little bit. So you're going to want to get the life. So if your gear is good, you don't really need these two. You also don't need these two if you have a very specific weapon or implicit on your gear, but otherwise, if you're on like a budget build, you really do need this. And then after this, going up, you should be mid 80s until 90s. So around 92 is when you max out the tree. And then from 92 to 95, you don't really know what to do, so you just kind of just look for jewel sockets, and then that's what you get. So that's the tree. Once again, you start here, go down, mid 40s. You should have everything around. You see this line? Everything on the left side or right side, just max that out. And after that, just go up the little line, get all these. And by the time you max this out, you should be around the 80s. And then from 80s to like 92, you should get all these, I guess. Or like 70s to 90s. But by the time you get all this, you'll be at around 92-ish, assuming you do all the side quests and stuff. And then 92 to 95, what I did was just put these in here. I just wanted a jewel sock. I didn't really know what else to do with it. All right, so Pantheon. Now keep in mind, when I made Cyclone, this was my second character for the league. I made an Arc Trapper as the first one, and that one also cleared all the content, so that's just a separate video, I guess, if anyone cares, but Cyclone is why you're here. What I did, Arakali and Shikari. Now, increased recovery rate of life and energy shield if you stop taking damage over time recently. You're going to be taking damage constantly, but your life leech should be high enough to the point where you don't really die. So what you want is pretty much the Spinner False Hope and the third one, the Chaos Resistance. I think you get the third one from the Sunken City Tier 13 map. I don't remember. You can just find it on the wiki of which ones give you these. Shikari, immune to poison and reduce chaos damage, so that's generally good. That's just what I chose. If there's something better, I'm sure use whatever works for you. Let's see what else is there. Let's go over gear, I guess, and flasks. Flasks, let's just go over real quickly. Bleeding, Stibnite, Quartz, Quicksilver, and Rumi's Concoction. Now, there are two options for flasks that you could replace your unique one. And let me go find it real quick. There's one called the Lion's Roar. Now, let me just compare these two real quick. So, when I was leveling up, I used this one. Both of these are fairly cheap. So, the difference between the two is one is like an offensive flask, and this one is a defensive flask. So if you find yourself like below resistance cap and all that stuff, I would use the defensive one. But leveling up through the story, if you can get one, these are pretty cheap. So this one just is the offense, defense, and literally, do you want to do more damage? Yes, then get this one. Do you want to not die? Yes, then get this one. That's basically it. So basically, you want immunity to bleeding flask. This goes for pretty much every build you play. You want one immunity to bleeding, one immunity to freezes, because if you open strong boxes, sometimes they freeze you, and then once everything surrounds you, you get bursted and just die. It happens all the time to me. So always get a freezing. Anti-curse flask, generally good if you are doing like high-end mapping or just mapping in general. and movement speed is just generally good. So yeah, let's start off with gear. Now keep in mind my DPS might not be the highest because I built more like defensively, and my gear is not like super min-maxed. So the one thing I feel like most people will have troubles with is the intelligence cap. So with this one gem in particular, infused channeling, you need 111 intelligence. As you guys can see, I have 121, which is kind of low, or just barely breaking the minimum requirements. So one thing is you guys are gonna have to look for is, like, usually the helmet is probably going to be your best choice for the intelligence, where it all comes from. So in terms of gear, what you're gonna want to look for in priority is at least 1 6 link, and having 2 is nice. You don't really need to, but just min-maxing. So let's say you're playing Starforge instead of like a 7 link axe. That's rare. What you're gonna be looking for is, or in the Starforge itself, is the physical damage. So mine's at 477. It could go up to 500. If you want to divine it to as close to 500 as possible, that's cool. So this league, I bought mine for 10 exalts. And that means it's like pretty expensive. So that's the highest I can get without trying to divine it. I didn't bother corrupting it, even though I probably could try to get the Resolute Technique one. But yeah, I never bothered. So gem sockets you're gonna want on, well, actually, assuming you only have 1 6 socket, this is gonna be your Cyclone build. So Cyclone, of course, is the reason why you're watching this video. And then Fortify. Now, before I didn't have Fortify, and you just take significantly more damage. So Fortify, feel like, is a must. Brutality, just more physical damage. Your supported skills deal no elemental and chaos damage, which is fine because we're using a Starforge, and the Starforge itself does no elemental damage, so that kind of just works well. I think if you're using an axe, you'd probably swap out brutality for something else, but either way, the significant physical damage is really great, so you could use it. A melee physical, just more stacked physical damage. That's good to go. Infused channeling. It's really hard to explain what this does, but like as you're channeling, you just do like, you take less damage, and it's good to have supported skills do more damage, so you're stacking more. Pulverize, higher AoE, more melee, just works well. Now, the reason why I have them on my armor is because of the implicit for the Belly of the Beast is +2 to socketed AoE gems and reduced cold damage taken. Now, you don't need the implicit. I beat everything before with the 6 link Belly of the Beast that wasn't corrupted. The reason why we have this is basically a level 23 Cyclone, and that's pretty stupid strong. But overall, if you're just looking for like an armor that works, you can get Belly of the Beast. I would recommend getting at least a 5 socket, and what you're going to be looking for is life, resistances. Yeah, that's basically it. Life and resistances, and, you know, anything else that could, you know, prevent you from dying. So, yeah, that's what I have. When I bought the Belly of the Beast that wasn't corrupted, it was 3 exalts. It's probably lower now, but the one I got, the +2 to socketed AoE gems, that one was about like 8 exalts. So, and then for the Starforge, the 6 link, I have Flesh and Stone, which is the aura around here, the red one, which is interesting because I've never actually used Blood and Sand and Flesh and Stone before. So the way it works is, let's say I press E or R right now. They both switch to the Sand, which is gold, and then Blood, which is the red aura. And you could just read all of that. you deal less damage, but basically more AoE or more damage, and my choice is more damage. So Blood and Sand and Flesh and Stone, they work together. So you can't have one of each. You have to have either both Blood or both Sand. And most people choose the Blood stance. Then we have War Banner. Now, oops. Well, anyway, we have War Banner, and that's the thingy on your back. So this thingy, and you basically do more. You can read it right there what it does. So War Banner, if you are using an axe, I would recommend swapping that out for, where is it? Herald of Purity. Now, the reason why we're using War Banner instead of Herald of Purity is because the Purity is more like elemental damage as well. So, like, since we don't really do elemental, War Banner did a little bit more for me. So it depends on what you're using, honestly. So we'll just watch out, test it out yourself, min-max it. War Banner for Starforge, and if you're using an axe or something that does elemental damage, I think the Purity or Herald is better. Pride is just good. Have it. Enlightened support, honestly, this is the part where I say the 5 link isn't as important, or like 6 link for a second piece isn't as important. So, and then Maim. Now, the reason why we used Enlighten level 3 over here was because, let me show you. Herald of Purity. Oh, God, dude. I hate having to watch this regen over time. Alright, so I'm just going to show you real quick. Regen, please. Alright, so you see how... Actually, hold on. I have 79 mana with this Enlightened support. And if you would be replacing War Banner for the Herald. So if you use the Herald of Purity with this, well, I think it would be a little bit different because I have a little bit sockets. But you have more or less. Hold on. Well, actually, I don't think it works because kind of weird. But anyway, how it would have worked is one would reserve 100% of your mana, and War Banner was like 95-ish total at the end. So let me see if I can actually get it to work. This one is a stupid amount of reserve. And so this is why, or this is where the Enlighten comes in. So, I don't know how, like, I haven't used it in a while. I just used War Banner, and that was literally what covered pretty much everything. But the way I had it set up before is if you are using the Herald, you're going to be reserving 100% of your mana. Banner, you probably have a little left over. You don't really need the Enlightened support. It's kind of nice to have. But we'll get into that in a bit. So, priorities on gear, what you should look for. For the most part, everything is just life, resistances, and, you know, anything that prevents you from dying. So, importantly, on your gloves, you're going to be wanting to look for the implicit, which is cursed enemies with 11 vulnerability on hit. And the reason why we do this is because vulnerability makes them take more physical damage. So if you're cursed enemies and basically you're running through, holding right mouse button down, killing everything. So after that, you want the invulnerability. Level 10 to level 12 is what you could get from it. It doesn't actually matter what level it is. Obviously 12 is better than 10, but what you want is to just get the implicit with the vulnerability curse. Doesn't matter which level. 12 is obviously better, but at the end of the day, your damage from your weapon is going to be carrying you through it. So that's really the only reason you want it. The Vol Caress is cheaper. There's another option. Let me see if I have it. I don't remember what it's called, but it's another... If I found it, I would tell you what it's called. Do I have it somewhere? Oh yeah, it's this one. So this is another one I saw people using. You would get it for the same implicit. Obviously, I tried corrupting like 12 of them and didn't get it, so I went with the cheaper option. This one's the cheaper option. Ultimately, you're just getting it for the implicit. This one just is more damage total, but it's also more expensive. Like a few exalts more expensive. Shoes, really just the stat shoes. You want movement speed, resist, life. If you get the chance to dodge hits, that's also pretty nice. But really, the shoes are just going to be used for life and resistances. So one thing I want to show you right here, in terms of my resistances, I have everything capped out at least 110. You want everything at 110 minimum if you are planning on doing high tier mapping and bossing, because some maps have the elemental weakness curse, and that'll shoot your maximum resistances from like 75 minus like 30 or something. So 110 is the cap that you want to generally aim for. So if you do that mod on the map, everything will still be above 75-ish, and that's really just for that one mod. So that's what I went with. Chaos resistance is, I mean, if you can get it above the negatives, that's great. If you can't, it doesn't matter. I beat everything in the negatives. So that's just one thing. Plus you have the reduced chaos damage taken. It helps, I guess. And your belt, really just life, resistances, and 16% increased damage is kind of irrelevant. You could get more resistances if you need it. I don't. Personally, this is just what I did. I chose the Stygian Vise belt just because it comes with the socket, and that's more health and more damage that I have. This isn't min-max. Don't copy this gem. It's just kind of what I had at the time. So yeah, so in the thing here, I have Steel Skin, Impale, Increased Duration, and Cast on Damage Taken, so don't worry about that one. And here, I have Cast on Damage Taken, Molten Shell, Immortal Call, and Increased Duration. I swear I've like never seen Immortal Call proc on here, so you could probably replace that with something else. And we went over to chest already. We went over to the weapon. If you can get that corrupted into something better, that's awesome. Now, your your rings, what you're going to want to look for is the increased physical damage. As you guys can see, add number to number, physical damage to attack, life, resistances. If you could get life leech or physical damage leech, that's awesome, but mostly you just want the damage, life, and resists. Now, this one is the expensive part. You want at least one of your... You want like 2 of your 3 jewelry sockets to have minus total mana cost of skills, and the reason why we do that is because our Cyclone is free. So let's say I didn't have this on, oh, I need that one. So Cyclone itself costs, where is it? I don't actually know where it tells you how much it costs. Mana cost is 2. Well, that's anyway because we have to. Let's just say it costs like 13 or something. And the reason why we have 2 minus 7 is so our Cyclone is free. Same with our Leap Slam and our Ancestral War Chief. So we could basically just spam, like hold down right mouse button forever, and it will cost 0. That way we don't have to worry about our resource management at all. This is your Leap Slam is your movement ability that you'll be using a lot. So you want at least 2 of these pieces to have minus mana cost. Everything else is basically just... one thing you should probably look for is attributes or intelligence. And the reason why is, once again, because for this gem, you're going to need at least 111. So where I got my intelligence from is from the helmet and the amulet, which is pretty much covers a lot of it. If you are unable to get that, there are a few things you could do, which is, assuming you're a later game, you could take out a, like, I would recommend taking out either the least amount of damage or the lowest 5% life node. You could put one into the intelligence over here. You should probably get this one if you aren't super lucky. And then there are some gems or jewel sockets you could use that have increased intelligence. You could get those. Those are alternatives. I just kind of more or less min-maxed mine in a way to the point where I could use whatever I want. So most importantly, the total mana cost. So basically zeroes out all your abilities, giving you the ability to reserve. This is the reason why it's 0 is because we used all our mana to reserve everything else. So you're basically a damage machine plus an aura bot. So that's pretty nice. And once again, damage, life, resistances, and anything else is just a bonus. So yeah, same all jewelry, damage, life, resistances, and shoes, resistances, belt. Yeah, pretty much everything is just survivability stuff. I feel like this is probably going to be the hardest to get. Now, this is what I used before I got the 40% Cyclone. So I used this helmet. Regarding the implicit, you would ideally, if you're trying to min-max it, you want to increase Cyclone damage. However, this helmet cost me 15 exalts just for the Cyclone damage, so don't worry about that one. This is what I used before it, and I could still clear everything just fine. The Cyclone damage itself only increased my thing by 6k, which is a lot, but it's also min-maxing after I beat everything. So, once again, intelligence on your helmet, life, resistances, and the one implicit, or the crafting thing you want is, where is it? Where is it? Socket melee. So yeah, this is what I put on mine. Melee weapon and unarmed attack range and socketed to melee gems. The reason why we want that is for Leap Slam, Fortify, Ancestral Warchief, and just a +1 to gems is, just 21 is better than 20. So go for that one. Yeah, that's pretty much all my gear. Yeah. In terms of this, Leap Slam, Ancestral Warchief, Fortify, Faster. Once again, I'll keep all of this. If you want to check out the profile on your own time, I'll leave my profile in the description, so check that out. And that's pretty much all my gems. So in terms of jewels, what you're going to want to go for is life, area damage, increased damage with two-handed weapons. So that's what I have for this one. Life, area damage, increased two-handed weapon damage. And same with here. So I think I have 4 jewel sockets total. 7% maximum life is the maximum you can get. If you're trying to get this, I would say they're kind of between 100 chaos and 1 exalts each. So jewels are, I would say, endgame. And don't worry about them too much early on. Just use what you can. Once again, I'm at the point where I'm just kind of min-maxing everything. So yeah, some alternatives for gear. Oh, I should have done this in the beginning, but if you are looking for early on weapons to use while you're going through the story, just go through. This is a unique tab that's sold in the cash shop. I know not everyone may have it, but literally just go through these, and there are some that you can use early on. Literally anything that increases physical damage. So what I use leveling up is, I don't know, I just used anything. I know I used this one. This one. Honestly, though, any unique that increases physical damage is generally one you want. So whichever one that fits your level, get that one. And really just playing the game from Act 1 to 10, You'll get there. It's fine. You don't really need a guide for that one. So that's about it. If you want to see me go run through a map and just see what it looks like, you can watch my other videos, but I could just go through, I don't know. Sure, let's go through a tier 16 map just for the fun of it. Yeah, let's just try to make this as difficult as possible. We're doing Forge, so we need... I don't really care about the implicits, I'm just kind of doing this.
The mediocre turned remarkable.
Oh, I already have a... Alright, so we have 5 out of 5 on here. We're doing this to increase the item quality or quantity. Doesn't really matter what we do, we'll just choose Abyss. So yeah, I'm at pretty much 39 out of 40. Did this mostly on my Cyclone. Alright, let's go. I'll just show you how this build works in actions. You're just gonna pop your potions on cooldown. Cyclone through everything. The reason why we had it there, you see that Ice Nova? Yeah, that freezes you. So if you want to read the mods, I don't actually know what we have. The one things you should look out for in terms of like mods for maps is you can't do no life leech. You could do reflect physical. It's kind of sketchy though, but you could do it. And your life leech should be high enough to the point where light or physical reflect is irrelevant.
Still sane, Exile.
So yeah, there you go. Invasion, unique, lab, corrupted, essence. Let's just choose the one with the highest percentage. These are all yellow or blue, 61%. See, element, okay, so this is what we were talking about before. You see how this thingy says cursed with elemental weakness? Now look at my resistances now, 70 or 110 at the minimum. Yeah, so if you're doing the elemental weakness map, this is kind of what happens. Remember how I said 110? Yeah, you're barely breaking cap with that one. So that's once again something you should look out for. If you don't want to do elemental weakness, you can always just re-roll out of it. But I mean, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. This is the boss. This whole Cyclone, things get evaporated. Yeah, the porcupines are probably one of the things you actually do have to look out for. I'm at the point in the game where I just kind of run through face rolling everything. But if you're trying to play the smart and push 100, then do not do what I just did. Try to like kite the porcupines back a little bit. Ooh, stinging down. That's stupidly easy. I might actually die here. That would have been embarrassing. Also, one thing to look out for is, I don't always check for this either, but make sure you're on the blood stance, not the sand one. Sand one's just kind of wonky, to be honest. god, the porcupines are scary. Also, your life total might also be a problem. What you want to aim for in the end. Oh, rip. Yeah, you see that? Don't do that. But yeah, anyway, life total. At the end, you kind of want to aim for at least 6k. 5k is kind of sketch while doing bosses, but you could do it. I've completed everything around 5,500. Everything else is just kind of a bonus. My #1 cause of death, aside from various bosses, are the porcupines. 100%. You could do Legion just fine, or Monoliths. Just kind of hold right mouse button. Everything goes. Honestly, for Legion, I enjoyed this mechanic. I know some people said they didn't like it, but there's a lot of loot. Nice 2 Guardian maps. We definitely made a refund. Well, actually, I don't know. We had to sextant a few maps. Should alch that, but doesn't really matter. So this is just kind of irrelevant, but in case you want to know Phoenix boss mechanics, you get stacks of fire on you. What you want to do is pretty much just avoid his charge, which you guys saw once. But that's basically Cyclone in a nutshell. I could do every boss. So yeah. Completed 158 out of 159. The one map that I haven't done was Dorianius Mechanarium. It's not because I can't do it. It's just the map costs like 2 exalts, so I'm not gonna pay that. In terms of like Uber Elder, very viable. I have videos of me doing it in less than like 6 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, that's basically it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or just want to check out the build on your own time, link in the description to my profile. You can see everything you see here. I don't think I'll be changing any gear anytime soon. But yeah, once again, this is not a really super budget-friendly build. You could play it budget and probably do fine, but all my gear is basically like high-end at the point where I spent like maybe 30 to 40 exalts at the time. It could be cheaper now. I have no idea. We're also playing it in Legion League, so this is stupidly expensive. The weapon is stupidly expensive. The Belly of the Beast 6 link itself isn't that bad. It's just the implicit corrupted, the one I got, was kind of bad. You could probably get the vulnerability one gloves for about like 30, 40 chaos. Make sure to get like 3 reds at very least. 3 reds, 1 green if you can. Worst comes to worst, you make your own. You could probably 4-link it. And something people don't know is even if an item is corrupted, you can still like get more sockets and more links on it. It just costs kind of a lot. So try to get it already pre-linked and all that stuff. Otherwise, it's going to cost you probably more than the actual item itself. Higher priorities are the minus mana cost. You could go -8 and -9. However, that means that it costs a few exalts to do it. So yeah. Once again, Everything else, I think I covered. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll get back to you. But if you want to watch it or like just look at the build on your own time, link in the description. So see you guys in a little bit. Thanks so much for watching.